Do you want to know the secret no one tells you about true power? It's not about being nice all the time. Sometimes to win, you have to be ruthless. Today, you're going to learn when and how to do it without regrets, so no one can walk all over you or use you. If you're ready to take control and stop being the victim, stay tuned to Amazing Stories, because this is for those who dare to be masters of their own destiny. Remember, 10 chapters separate you from being the best in the game of power. This is a key moment. Are you going to take the step? Know yourself like an enemy. Machiavelli wasn't talking about self-esteem or motivational quotes. For him, the human mind was a battlefield where inner forces like fear, envy, and desire are constantly fighting. Ignoring that inner war is the most expensive mistake. To achieve power or success, you must first master yourself. This self-knowledge isn't emotional or superficial, but strategic. It's about analyzing yourself coldly, like an enemy you have to watch. You have to detect repetitive patterns, self-destructive habits, and understand which emotions drive our decisions without us noticing. It's not enough to know that you procrastinate or fear rejection. You have to track how that affects your choices in real life. Self-observation means recording your reactions accurately, how criticism affects you, what you feel when you lie, how you justify your mistakes. Many fail, not because of their environment, but because they never dared to understand their own minds. It's also vital to recognize the shadow, that hidden part of yourself that guides actions from the unconscious. As Jung said, what is not made conscious becomes destiny, and Machiavelli would add that destiny will be controlled by another. Whoever doesn't know their worth will be bought. Whoever doesn't master their emptiness will be a victim of it. This is the foundation of everything. No one can lead if they don't first govern their inner world. In an era of distractions and external validations, knowing yourself like an enemy is an act of rebellion. It's not to destroy you, but to rebuild you as someone who cannot be manipulated from the outside. Because if you don't take control of your mind, someone else will, and they won't be looking out for your well-being. Master your reputation. Your power doesn't start with your strength, it starts with what other people think of you. Machiavelli said it plainly, it doesn't matter what you are, but what you seem to be. You can be just, brave, wise. But if nobody notices it, it's as if it doesn't exist. Your reputation is an invisible army. It precedes you in every conversation, in every meeting, in every conflict. And if you don't command it, others will use it against you. Machiavelli understood something that's still true today. The masses don't see the soul of a leader, they see their image. That's why he insisted that a prince should appear virtuous, even if he acted harshly. The world hasn't changed. Social media, work, even your personal relationships operate under the logic of perception. Reputation is worth more than talent, it's more effective than merit, longer lasting than effort. Mastering it requires strategy. 3 levels: prevention, construction, and defense. 1. Prevention. Be careful what you say, what you post, what you support. Every word is ammunition in the hands of a potential enemy. 2. Construction. Shape your narrative. Do you want to be remembered as a victim or as a leader? Reputation needs identity, not improvisation. 3. Defense. Crush any symbolic attempt to belittle you. Don't respond with insults, respond with facts. Facts that destroy the lie. Machiavelli knew it. If you don't know how to use slander to your advantage, you will be destroyed by it. It's not about lying, it's about using reputation as a tool of power. Silence some truths, amplify some achievements. That's also strategy. Eliminate inconsistent behaviors. Nothing kills respect faster than visible contradiction. Don't demand discipline if you're late. Don't talk about emotional strength if you crumble under criticism. Respect isn't born from speeches, it's born from consistency. And remember this, reputation is a psychological battlefield. They will respect you only if you respect yourself enough not to sell yourself short. If you accept ridicule, if you tolerate being underestimated, if you let others define your worth, then you've lost much more than an argument. You've lost the helm of your life. Power is theatrical. The powerful man acts as such before he is. It's not pretending, it's projecting precisely the image that supports your mission. Your reputation is your shield and also your sword. It's not enough to be strong, you have to look strong. It's not enough to be free, you have to look free. Because the world doesn't react to your inner truth, but to your external presence. And you build that presence, or your carelessness destroys it. The art of using fear. Machiavelli didn't beat around the bush. It's better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. This statement, as rejected by idealists as it is valued by strategists, holds an uncomfortable truth. Fear is a more effective instrument of control than affection. Not because affection lacks strength, but because fear doesn't hesitate. And on the chessboard of power, hesitation is a crack that will eventually sink you. We live in an era where relationships have been softened. We've been taught to please, to avoid conflict, to ask permission even to exist. But whoever seeks real authority must unlearn that docility. It's not about becoming a tyrant, but about understanding that fear, when managed intelligently, is a language everyone understands without needing explanations. First, accept this reality. Everyone around you is driven by fear. Fear of being rejected, of losing their place, of making a fool of themselves, of being controlled. If you're not able to perceive these fears, you're making decisions blindly. A leader with a Machiavellian vision analyzes the emotional fractures of others, not to wound, but to negotiate from a dominant position, because whoever doesn't understand the fear of others ends up a slave to their own. But before applying fear outwards, you need to conquer it within yourself. What paralyzes you? What threats make you lower your head without protest? A man who doesn't face his own fears ends up subdued by whoever awakens them. If you're afraid of failing, you'll be manipulated by whoever promises you stability. If you fear loneliness, you'll fall before whoever offers you belonging. The first step is to stand up to your fears and say, "You no longer rule my path." Machiavelli suggested that punishments should be exemplary, not for revenge, but to instill respect. In everyday life, this translates to establishing clear boundaries and firm consequences. You can't demand respect if you're not willing to defend it with actions. If you allow a serious offense, a betrayal, or a humiliation without reacting, you're saying, "You can test how much I can take." And someone, sooner or later, will. Using fear doesn't mean sowing terror, but provoking respect. Make it clear that crossing you has consequences, that your time is valuable, that your principles are not bargaining chips, that your silence is not weakness, but a warning. When you project the idea that you're not going to tolerate the unacceptable, even your rivals begin to respect you. And here's the secret: don't threaten, act. Whoever threatens and doesn't act loses respect. Whoever acts without announcing it wins everything. Uncertainty imposes respect. Predictability dilutes it. At work, in your family, in your closest relationships, this rule boils down to one question: does your presence impose enough of a pause for others to think twice before challenging you? If the answer is no, you're not projecting power yet. And it's not about being aggressive or imposing by force. It's about posture, determination, acting without tremors. Remember, poorly managed fear subdues you. Understood fear transforms into authority. If you learn to manage it, you will no longer live seeking approval. You will live with the respect that is only earned when your silence is not interpreted as submission, but as a warning. Machiavelli understood this well. Showing your intentions makes you vulnerable. In a world where everyone has an opinion and makes excuses, silence is power. Revealing what you want opens the door to sabotage, to competition disguised as friendship, and to those who can't stand to see others succeed. Hiding your intentions isn't lying, it's playing strategically. It's not about strength, but unpredictability. The one who can't be read dominates the game. Mystery generates respect, interest, even fear. What's visible becomes commonplace. What's hidden keeps its value. In a discussion, be quiet. In a negotiation, play it cool. In relationships, keep them guessing. Let your actions speak, not your words. Never let them know what you're thinking, because what they can't see, they can't stop. In the chess game of power, those who are predictable are doomed, and those who are not needed are expendable. These two truths, inseparable in Machiavellian philosophy, define a man's strategic position in the world. Being unpredictable makes you unsettled. Being necessary makes you untouchable. But achieving both conditions requires a radical transformation in how you think, act, and interact. Machiavelli knew that the prince who repeated patterns was the easiest to overthrow, because someone who always acts the same ceases to be a threat. Routine in politics, as in life, is a deadly weakness. People don't fear the strong if they know exactly what they'll do next. Instead, they fear the one who reinvents themselves, the one who changes their rhythm, the one who responds without apparent logic, not out of whim but by calculation. Well-managed unpredictability generates respect, fear, and fascination. Why? Because it interrupts the mental narrative that others build about you. When you break their expectations, you show that you control the story. In contrast, the man who always acts the same becomes a secondary character in his own story. You are obligated to become a mystery, not to play games with others, but to protect yourself from their need to control you. Now, it's not enough to be unpredictable if nobody needs you. A man who wouldn't be missed if he disappeared has no power. Therefore, the second part of this rule is even more vital. Become necessary, not out of pity, not out of emotional dependence, but because of irreplaceable skill. Become an expert in something few people master. Make your presence solve problems that others can't handle. Make your absence felt. Let others calculate their decisions around your availability. Let your name come up when talking about solutions, not problems. Necessity creates real power because nobody wants to risk losing the key player. This applies professionally, socially, and intimately. In your work, don't just comply, transform. In your relationships, don't just please, bring balance, direction, or challenge. In your circle, don't be just another one. Be the point of reference. But be careful, don't confuse being needed with being indispensable. No one is indispensable. But if you manage to be so valuable that your absence forces a reorganization, you've already won. And now the art is in uniting these two facets. That they need you, but they don't completely understand you. That they look for you, but they don't control you. That they admire you, but they can't predict you. That is the alchemy of power. Some men are predictable and dispensable. They are easily forgotten. Others are unpredictable but useless. They are feared for a while and then isolated. But the one who manages to be both unpredictable and necessary becomes a figure that can't be moved without consequences. He becomes a central point, a linchpin, a force. Unpredictability can be practiced. Break your own patterns, change your routine, respond differently, withdraw your presence without explanation. Give without warning and take away without resentment. Maintain the balance between surprise and solidity. Don't be chaos, be an oracle. And necessity is built slowly. Learn, master, multiply your usefulness. Speak less, solve more. Let them remember you not for what you said, but for what changed when you were present. Machiavelli knew that power doesn't belong to the one who demands it, but to the one who embodies it. And to embody it, you must become a figure everyone watches cautiously, and whose game no one wants to play against. In Machiavellian logic, power isn't built alone, but it's not shared naively either. Alliances aren't friendship pacts, they're strategic contracts where the real bond isn't emotional loyalty, but mutual benefit. Machiavelli knew this. Whoever reaches power without alliances will fall soon, and whoever depends too much on them will fall even faster. That's why this rule is essential. Master the art of allying without submitting, connect without surrendering, join forces without dissolving your identity. Because the modern world is full of alliances disguised as cooperation when they are actually emotional traps, contracts of emotional subordination or pacts of dependency disguised as love, friendship or teamwork, a true alliance from a Machiavellian perspective must be based on three criteria: opportunity, control and reversibility. Opportunity: what does this person, group or institution bring to your cause? Do they make you stronger, or just more distracted? Ally with those who lift you higher, not with those who drain you sideways. Control: never enter an alliance where you can't measure and manage the relative power. If you join someone who can destroy you with a single move, you're not in an alliance, you're in a vassal relationship. Always enter an alliance from a position of strength or a clear negotiation of benefits. And if you can't control anything, at least make sure the other person knows your game has a cost. Reversibility: every alliance should be undoable without you being destroyed in the process. This means you need to keep your independence. Don't hand over all your resources, your schedule, your energy, or your reputation. If you completely lose yourself in the other person when the alliance ends, and they always end, you'll be left empty. Remember that most people come to you out of need, not admiration. Even those who swear loyalty usually do so only as long as you're useful to them. When you're no longer useful, they will switch sides without hesitation. This isn't wickedness, it's social biology. And you should know this without resentment. Only then can you enter and exit alliances without trauma. At work, this means teaming up without becoming a slave. In relationships, it means loving without losing yourself. In politics or business, it's negotiating without selling your soul. Learn to speak the language of cooperation without giving up your independence. Weak people often make the mistake of thinking their relationships are perfect. They mix up teamwork with loyalty and loyalty with something that lasts forever. But all relationships end sometime, and the more powerful you are, the faster they end. So, Machiavelli would advise, don't give all your power to the alliance, only give the part you can afford to lose. It's also crucial that you learn to create the illusion of dependence without being dependent. Make others believe they need you more than you need them. Don't reveal how self-sufficient you are. Make them feel like their luck improves with you, that your presence elevates their project. That perception will keep them close, but in a position of respect, not superiority. And when an alliance has run its course, don't blow up. Exit gracefully, say thank you, but disappear. Because whoever makes a drama out of a breakup reveals their weakness, and whoever leaves quietly preserves their power. In the end, the art of alliance isn't about how many follow you, but how many wouldn't dare to face you. Not out of fear, but calculation. And that's only achieved when you've shown that with you they win, but without you they lose more than anyone is willing to risk. For ordinary men, time is a clock. For the powerful, it's a weapon. Machiavelli knew it. Every minute without a strategy is ground gained by someone else. If you don't control your time, someone else will. The average man lives in a hurry, a slave to urgency. He reacts, improvises, and wears himself out, but the one who understands power acts calmly, with precision. Mastering time isn't about doing a lot, it's about doing the right thing at the right time. The true strategist knows when to speak and when to stay silent, when to move forward and when to wait. Time, when used well, reveals weaknesses, wears down the enemy, and strengthens the one who knows how to wait. Because time doesn't just pass, it also exposes. Your calendar is your battlefield. Protect it. Don't always be available. Don't answer right away. The one who delays projects power. The one who thinks before acting rules. But be careful, there are also times when waiting is poison. Sometimes you have to move without warning, break away without explanation, act without permission. Powerful people don't fill their time, they protect it. They cut out what doesn't contribute, they say no without guilt, and they make their presence and their absence felt. Their time isn't spent, it's invested, because they know it better than anyone. Time isn't money. It's power. One of the biggest mistakes a person with potential makes is hesitating when they should punish. They make excuses, forgive, postpone, out of fear of seeming cruel. But Machiavelli was clear. Minor offenses are remembered more than serious ones. Why? Because they didn't hurt enough to prevent them from happening again. Punishing isn't violence, it's clarity. It's making it clear that whoever crosses a line pays a price. Those who don't set boundaries, out of fear, shame, or affection, lose respect. And authority that isn't respected crumbles on its own. Our culture loves the idea of immediate forgiveness, but forgiveness without judgment is the same as being an accomplice, and power that isn't defended becomes a joke. People respect someone who sets boundaries more than someone who tries to please everyone. Real punishment doesn't come from anger, but from order. It's not done on a whim, but on principle. It can be silence, distance, a break. But it must be clear, immediate, and final, because those who cause harm without consequences repeat. You don't have to justify your decisions. Don't over-explain. Don't make a big deal out of it. The punishment speaks for itself. Playing with fire here means you're going to get burned. And yes, you will feel guilty because you were taught that setting boundaries is hurtful. But what really hurts you is betraying yourself. What kills your power is not punishing, but tolerating the intolerable. In a world that demands total transparency, true power lies in what's hidden. These days, everyone shows everything, their ideas, their emotions, their lives. But the men who truly dominate are the most enigmatic, because mystery isn't a flaw, it's a powerful tool. It's not about being arrogant or inaccessible, but about keeping your essence to yourself. The less they know, the more control you have over how they see you. People fill those gaps with imagination, and what is not explained becomes mythical. That generates respect, interest, and even fear. What is completely exposed, on the other hand, becomes common and loses value. Machiavelli knew that great leaders always leave something unsaid, a secret, a pause, a silence at the right moment. That creates an aura impossible to fake, because mystery isn't declared, it's felt. In practice, this means not talking about yourself all the time, not explaining every decision or always showing how you feel. Have a private space, a core that no one touches, not because you're hiding something, but because you're protecting your inner authority. Someone who protects their mystery doesn't need approval or likes. They can be in the middle of the noise and remain steady because their worth doesn't depend on others. That mystery is power because it can't be copied. Your silence becomes authority, your reserve rarity. And rarity is desired, feared, and respected. Machiavelli didn't advocate for unnecessary cruelty, but for strategic cruelty. It's not about being cruel just to be cruel, but about not hesitating when cruelty is the only logical answer. In life, compassion can become weakness, mercy can become complicity, and silence, a betrayal of yourself. So, right there, you have to know how to be ruthless. The key is in the moment. Someone who is always harsh becomes a tyrant, and someone who is never harsh ends up a martyr to their own naivety. True power isn't born from excessive force, but from the precision to cut without hesitation. There are unforgivable betrayals, limits that are non-negotiable, and decisions that are made without being swayed by emotions. These days, being ruthless seems like a moral crime. Everything has to be talked about and processed. But power doesn't follow therapy rules. It follows hard rules. Sometimes the only play is to eliminate without drama, without tears, without regret. Keeping someone around because you're afraid of conflict can cost you years, your reputation, or your peace. Ruthless elegance isn't violence. It's firmness and clarity. It's looking at someone who failed you and saying no more without drama or explanations. Being ruthless is not giving second chances to someone who has already shown their true colors. Machiavelli said, punishment should be exemplary and singular to avoid repetition. When you decide to be ruthless, don't look back. Forgiving betrayals destroys your credibility. Minimizing offenses teaches them to disrespect you. Misplaced compassion can be the death of your dignity. It's not hate, it's vision and self-love, protecting what you built, your legacy. In this game called life, it's not about being the strongest or the nicest. It's about being the smartest, knowing when to be gentle and when to be ruthless. Because true power isn't a burst of anger, but a sharp edge used with precision. Knowing when to be ruthless is the difference between controlling your destiny and being controlled by others. Remember, strength without control is violence. Cruelty without reason is barbarity. But ruthless wisdom is power. It's the firmness that commands respect, the clarity that sets boundaries, and the decisiveness that protects your legacy. Don't be afraid of the moment when you have to close doors, cut ties, or say enough. That moment defines who you really are. Because in the balance between kindness and a sharp edge is the essence of the man who not only survives, but commands. Are you ready to choose with a cool head? Because true power awaits those who don't hesitate. Until our next amazing story, we'll see you in the comments.